Welcome to a new season of Super Low Run Sports Talk Theater. Joe Ovies with you, and new to the cast this year is Joe Giglio of the News and Observer. If you ever get your Joes confused, just remember, I'm the one that hates your posse. Where are we at today, Joe? This is a new location. I'm holding coffee cups.
We're in the basement of Mel Gibson's son's ransom notice. I don't know where we are, to be perfectly honest. I see peeling wallpaper and
give me back my son.
Concrete. Yeah, I mean,
and I might have to
pick a better locale for us, or what?
Well, I might have to grab my son at some point because he's not looking very happy right now. I know.
We'll making his radio tube debut.
We'll be done soon, man. Don't worry about it. So we opened up with the botched skydiving routine. Landed at Wallace Wade as opposed to Keenan. They've apologized profusely for it. But
fitting,
was there a more fitting way to start off the season?
No, I mean ACC. If you look at it, NC State starts on. Yeah, it actually started on Thursday night with NC State getting shut out 34-0 by South Carolina. And even though Spurrier kind of pulled a Spurrier and added 14 points late in that game, the bottom line is it didn't look good for the ACC. Then you move on to Saturday afternoon with Virginia just getting completely outclassed by Southern Cal. Not that they were going to win that game, but 52-7, Joe. I mean, give me a break.
And that's the thing. Clemson ultimately embarrassed the conference. I mean, the Big East had its own embarrassments with Pittsburgh losing to Bowling Green. But when you're the high-profile team expected to take the BCS, or at least compete for the BCS title, and you get waxed like that by Alabama, it lays at the feet of Tommy Bowden. It really does, and that's where most of the slamming is coming from, that one high-profile loss.
Yeah, well, but it's the collective effort, too. And there's also the double standard of in basketball. It's, when UNC and Duke dominate, it's, the rest of the league is weak. Whereas in football, when not one team kind of elevates itself to the status of a West Virginia in the Big East or an Oklahoma in the Big 12, then it becomes a conference-wide problem. So the ACC is going to have to deal with that. But, Clemson could still run the table in the ACC and end up back in the Orange Bowl.
Now, something else we wrote about during the summer, Joe, and talked about on the air plenty, was North Carolina. They do get a win. They are still looking like a team that can't take the Coastal compared to what happened with Virginia Tech against ECU. But what did we talk about all summer long? The running game. Greg Little looked like he still needed some work and wasn't the absolute answer for the running game.
Well, you can't solve your problems or base the answer to your problems on what happened against Duke. I mean, it's just you can't extrapolate anything from what happens against Duke. Everybody looks good against Duke. And David Cutcliffe's trying to change that. I understand that. Actually, the ACC is so upside down. The highlight of the weekend was Duke pummeling a good 1AA team in James Madison.
I still think it's more along the lines of, oh my goodness, Duke won their first game than anything else.
But it was 31-7, and they were pretty good.
True.
Here's the thing about North Carolina, and there's still hope for North Carolina. And even though they didn't, devour McNeese State, the truth of the matter is they have a quarterback and they have a good coach. And those are two things in that division which the other five teams can't say they have both of. And the thing about Carolina is Rutgers didn't look very good in their opener. That's suddenly opening up for them next Thursday. And if they could get that win on the road, they were winless on the road last year. If they can get some confidence to win on the road, remember, they don't play Wake Forest. They don't play Clemson. They don't play Florida State. The schedule is wide open for them to win the Coastal Division.
John Swofford set this up perfectly. I mean, he's a Carolina guy. Clearly, it's one big conspiracy that Carolina has the road paved with easy cupcakes to get to a possible title game. Now, you mentioned quarterbacks. That's the one thing that Carolina does have. TJ Yates still can be a little inconsistent, but at least they have a solid position at quarterback. Look at all the controversy. I mean, maybe controversy is a strong way to say it, but all the question marks. That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
You got redshirt questions with Tyrod Taylor at Virginia Tech. It's gotten to the point where Tom O'Brien has to answer questions about blowing the red shirt from Mike Glennon after what happened to Russell Wilson. In both cases, both coaches, both Frank Beamer and Tom O'Brien, are trying to put the best guy in position to at least move the ball. Russell Wilson could do that for NC State, and Tyrod Taylor can clearly do that for Virginia Tech. But both those teams don't really have big-time aspirations ahead of them. That's the problem.
Not anymore for Virginia Tech, but obviously going into the year, they're the preseason pick to win the Coastal. And you know what? Their season's not over. Because ECU is a competent football team, and they could be the best team in this state. Now, I'm damning them with faint praise, but
they might be competing in the Coastal Division, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
But the thing is, again, they opened up with a team that could beat them. They didn't. This week they play Furman. Maybe they would have been better off playing Furman first and then ECU. But that's not the way ESPN wanted it. But the thing about Virginia Tech is they need playmakers, and that's why they have to take the red shirt off Tyrod Taylor, because they lost Brandon Orr. They've lost their top four receivers, three of which are in the NFL right now. So if you don't have a fastball, which is what Tyrod Taylor is, I just don't know what they were thinking before the season to think to themselves that it would be okay if Sean Glennon was exclusively the quarterback.
My theory on that was that Sean Glennon was supposed to be the starter, but this was all mind games by Frank Beamer. You know what? I'm going to make him the redshirt. I'm going to make Tyrod Taylor the redshirt, so you don't have to worry about the idea of
confidence in you. Yeah.
I've got confidence in you. And what does Sean Glennon do with that newfound confidence?
Throws a pick on his first attempt, just like he did last year against ECU, which is how we got into the Tyrod Taylor situation to begin with.
And here we are again. Now, Joe,
what do you think, Caleb?
Yeah, I know.
We had him going there. That was some slick maneuvering.
Now, I was going to pick Miami and Florida, but we kind of know where that's going to go. Miami hopefully will put up some sort of fight against the Gators, but we know what the outcome is going to be. So really, the game of the week in the ACC is going to be Georgia Tech versus Boston College, that triple option versus the Matt Ryan-less era of Boston College. This could go either way, really, if you think about it.
Versus the proud 620 alum, Steve Logan.
That's true. I always bet on Logan, but I don't know. I kind of like Georgia Tech in this one.
Even on the road?
Even on the road. I like that offense against that defense.
Here's the thing. Boston College was in the top 5 last year against the run. The parts that they lost in their secondary weren't instrumental in stopping the run. So I think they still have a good run defense. Here's the thing about Steve Logan, too. They played Kent in the opener. They won 21-0. Something tells me Kent didn't get the entire playbook that Georgia Tech's going to get this week. So I don't think Chris Crane was great, but he was functional. And Josh Hayden, I don't think you saw everything you're going to see out of Josh Hayden in week 1.
Well, I know why you want to see more Josh Hayden. He was your #1 pick in the ACC fantasy draft. And Caleb is even wondering, what the heck is up with that pick?
What were you doing?
Joe, what is up with that pick?
Well, Cullen Harper clearly wasn't the answer, so
clearly not.
I'm okay about that.
So who are you taking, Georgia Tech or Boston College?
I'm gonna stick with the home team because I think Boston College is going to win some games this year, particularly early. Boston College's problems are going to come later in the season when they're going to play some tougher competition away from Chestnut Hill.
Well, Caleb clearly thinks it's time for us to go. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech in this one. I like the offense against that defense. It's not something that Jeff Jagodzinski has seen. Steve Logan might be able to put up points, but I like what Paul Johnson can do.